Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Let's Talk About Scams. I'm Joyce Petrowski, founder of R.O.S E Resources Outreach to Safeguard the Elderly. You can visit our website at roseadvocacy.org and view our resources. You can sign up for our newsletter on the homepage, and you can also find the links for the podcast on Apple and Spotify there. Or you can just subscribe by clicking that button now while you're watching this. So today I've got a guest. His name is Steve. He's going to be joining us here shortly, and we're going to talk about his experience with a scam that he came close to falling victim to, but he didn't. And we're going to learn about, the contact that came and the reasons that the scammer gave and how they wanted money. And it's all revolving around a pig butchering scam and cryptocurrency. So let's get to it. And we're going to meet Steve. Well, hi, Steve. Thank you for joining me today on the podcast.
Well, very good to have. Very glad to help.
All right. So we had a conversation probably in February, I think, about an incident that you encountered regarding a potential scam. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it was early January, and it started rather suddenly. There was what appeared to be a young Chinese woman who said that I had appeared on her potential friend list and Facebook recommended me as a friend.
Okay.
And she was listed as a friend of one of my longtime friends.
Okay.
And I did a little search and found that she was on another friend list of another friend.
Okay.
So I thought, okay, well, maybe.
Yeah.
And the first friend actually, she and her husband have had quite a bit of history working with Chinese people. So
okay.
I thought, okay, that sounds legitimate. And and she had a name on there. First name was Lynn, just Lin. And she immediately started bringing up topics that might be of interest and claimed that she was an orthopedic surgeon at a large hospital in one of our big cities in the U.S.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I now realize what she was doing is what's called pig butchering. I put a lot of things on Facebook, so it's very easy for somebody to see my interests and my hobbies, right, and my pursuits and all of that stuff. And so she immediately began in what seemed like a very friendly way, talking about common interests and world travel and a lot of things.
Okay.
And then after a little bit of discussion on Facebook, she suggested we move over to WhatsApp because she said she spends more time there, and she said she thought WhatsApp was safer than Facebook Messenger.
Oh, okay.
I think maybe she means it's safer for her because it's more encrypted, but I didn't know that at the time.
Right.
And I thought, well, I have a WhatsApp account. Why not? I don't care. And so we popped over there. That's when my suspicions began a little bit.
Okay.
And I contacted my two friends and asked them, I sent her picture and her assumed name. And I said, do you know this person? And both of them said, nope, never seen her, never heard of her.
Oh, okay.
At least one of them said he was going to delete her off of his friends list. How she got on their friend list, I don't know. You have to approve people. So
exactly.
But sometimes we're not very guarded about who we let in.
That's true.
And so we moved over there. She had yet a second name now, very unlike the first one. But it was like a nickname kind of thing. And I thought, well, sometimes people don't use their real name on WhatsApp. They have a kind of a handle, kind of like a CV person or something.
Right.
And then she sent me some pictures. And one of them was of her in a smock in what looked like the hallway of a hospital.
Okay.
So, that would fit with being a doctor or at least a medical person.
Right.
Um, and continue to bring up hobbies. And I put quite a few, one of my hobbies is cooking, and I often put pictures of what I've cooked on Facebook. And so that was another natural to pick up. And I'm a flight instructor and a professional pilot. And she mentioned at one point that she wanted to be a pilot.
Oh, okay.
And be able to fly herself around. And then about a week later, she said that she had made a lot of money with BTC. Well, I had no idea what BTC was. And so she said she bought BTC at 17,000 and it just went to 46,000. So she made 29,000 per BTC.
Okay. So, question. On my screen, you had frozen for a minute. So she had started talking about BTC, which is
BTC,
a Bitcoin, a cryptocurrency. Bitcoin. Okay. All right.
Yeah. And she claimed to have made a huge amount of money doing that, and asked if I tracked that or if I bought it. I said, no, I had to look it up. I didn't know what it was.
Right.
And she said, quote, "It's a pity you missed millions of dollars of income." And then she brought up the impending halving, which is going to happen next month, which I've done a bunch of research on that.
The impending what?
Halving. They call it a halving.
Halving. Okay.
Yeah, HALVING.
Okay.
Cutting in half.
Okay. All right.
I think it's a little like stock splitting.
Got it. Okay.
But it can potentially lead to a big increase in value.
Oh, okay.
And and of course, I looked up some of that, and she explained some things to me about it. And at some point along the line, she offered to teach me how to invest successfully in cryptocurrency.
Okay.
And I said, well, doesn't hurt to learn new things.
Right.
And I said, how about if we do an exchange? I'll teach you some of the ground stuff that we can do on a video chat or something for flying, and you can teach me about investing in Bitcoin.
Okay, there you go.
And and then there was a bunch more chit chat for a couple of weeks. And then she sent pictures. Supposedly she's wealthy and has traveled all over the world, and sent photographs of her in exotic places, Egypt and a lot of places.
Okay.
And said that she was a volunteer and donated a lot of her resources to charities, and sent some pictures of her with, it looked like African children and things, so
right.
pretty convincing looking. And she mentioned along the way that she had an uncle who was a real expert at investments.
Okay.
Now, since then, with my research, I've learned that that's a very common ploy of crypto scammers. They have an uncle, not an aunt, not a cousin. It's always an uncle.
An uncle. Okay.
And yeah, who's really, really good at that. And there was a little time passed, and then in the middle of January, she brought up cryptocurrency again, and led me to open an account with, I don't know if I should say the name of it, but it's a well-known,
one of the crypto accounts,
really well-known, big cryptocurrency exchanges. And so I looked at that, and I read about it, and I did research online, and it looked like it was safe enough to open an account.
Okay.
And I did that, and she explained to me, and I confirmed that you have to have a crypto wallet to keep your crypto coin in.
Right.
So I opened one of those. And all along the line, she had me send her screenshots on my phone of where I was opening these things up. She did tell me to guard my passwords and passphrases really carefully and never give them to anybody. Okay. That sort of makes you feel a little safer.
Yeah.
Although by then I was beginning to expect that at some point she might ask for those, or get some way around them. I did read online, because I kept doing a lot of reading online, that you're supposed to have a 2FA authenticator.
Two-factor authentication.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the high recommendation was that you have that at the very beginning. And so I told her that. I said, well, I've been reading about this. It looks like I need to have a 2-factor authentication. No, don't set that up yet.
Oh.
Okay, that made me a little suspicious.
Yep.
And I was getting more and more suspicious and starting to read up specifically on search engines about crypto scamming.
Oh, okay.
That's when, because these little bells going off in the back of my head saying, be careful.
Yes.
Just be careful. Because if it seems too good to be true, it almost always
is. Right. Exactly.
And of course, all of us are attracted to the possibility of making a whole bunch of money.
Right. Who isn't?
Without much effort. That's attractive probably to anybody.
Exactly.
And, but I was suspicious because she had a third name that she was using.
Okay.
And so I started looking for her.
Mm-hmm.
And so I looked for her on the staff of the big hospital where she said she worked.
Okay.
I don't remember how I came across what was supposed to be her alma mater.
Okay.
So I did a bunch of research to see if she was listed as a graduate. And I just wasn't really finding good corroboration.
Mm-hmm.
I did run across someone by one of the names who was an environmental activist in Malaysia and got in trouble there.
Oh, okay.
For some dishonesty.
Okay.
And the pictures looked almost identical. So unless she has a twin sister, I suspect it's the same
probably
person.
her. Right.
So then I had this brilliant idea one day. If I give flight instruction to somebody, TSA and the FAA require me to verify citizenship.
Okay.
So I messaged her and I said, okay, I want to start in giving you some free ground instruction, and technically you really don't have to do that for just ground instruction. It's if actually in the airplane flying, but I stretched it a little.
But
so
it's probably good to have, right? Before you start the whole process.
Yeah. So I said, I need picture ID and I need your email address, which I didn't have yet.
Okay.
And so it was a couple of days or so, and I got a photograph of it's California, of a driver license with her picture on it. I thought, okay, maybe this is legitimate. And she sent me an email address.
Okay.
That had her name the last name she had given me on there. So I looked on the driver license, and because I was curious where she lived, and the address on it is a big intersection of two major thoroughfares in Beverly Hills.
Oh.
But there was no apartment, no address. It's just the intersection.
Okay.
So I went to Google Earth and I looked, and all there is parks and museums. So I thought, okay, I think that's a fake driver license.
Right.
And and the date of birth on the driver license didn't match by about 4 years how old she had told me she was.
Ah, okay. All right.
And I confronted her about that. And I said, your date of birth and your alleged age don't match. What's up?
Yeah.
Got kind of angry and said, well, you just don't understand how Chinese people count age and their birthdays and all that. I said, well, I grew up in Asia. I have a pretty good idea about what differences there are, but it's not 4 years.
Right.
And she also pointed out that Asian people sometimes adopt other names.
Okay.
And use two of them. Usually it's an American kind of a name.
Okay.
That they adopt as a second one, since most of us can't pronounce, their names in Chinese. So, but none of these fit that model.
Okay.
And I said, that doesn't make really any sense to me. Um, and so anyway, our somewhere along the line is when I came across the term pig butchering, because we marks are the pigs,
Yes,
and they fatten us up
that's right.
by building relationship and complimenting and seeming to be great friends and mining things about us and pointing out how much we have in common. And so that's fattening us up to
That's
be
right.
butchered.
Yeah.
It's not very complimentary.
It's not very complimentary, right? And
So
actually,
then,
yeah, I think they got that term from one of the Asian countries, if I'm not mistaken, for some
probably,
process that they used to go through. So, yeah,
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, even in this country, we feed extra corn and carbohydrates to the pigs to fatten them up
we
before
do, right?
so they weigh more before we butcher them.
True,
So
true.
yeah, so I said, okay. After I got these things set up, I said, okay, well, let's talk about how do you put the money in, and how much do you start with? And she said, well, you should start with 100,000.
Wow.
Okay, well, in my world, that's not chump change.
No, in a
And I
lot of
said,
people's world.
no. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, I'm not doing that. And so we argued back and forth for a while. And I said, well, I'd like to put in 100. And she said, well, you'll never realize any real profit from that. It's kind of pointless.
Okay.
And and since this discussion happened, this one cryptocurrency has gone up about 70%. So if you put $100 in, supposedly you'd have
170.
170.
Right.
Yeah, which in a way, so what? That's a dinner out. So you really haven't
Yeah.
done anything.
Right.
If you put 100,000 in there and it went up 70%, all right, now you're talking some money.
Exactly.
But anyway, I said no. I would start small. I have to start small. And I said, so how do I pay for this? Because I saw there's various ways to pay for cryptocurrency.
Okay.
And she said, oh, don't worry about that yet. And so a few days later, she says, okay, now that you got all this set up, we're ready for you to buy, and you're going to wire transfer the money.
Okay.
And I said, well, that's not what I've been reading, and she thought I should trust her as my teacher, And I said, well, the whole idea of wire transfer, which is not revocable,
Right.
and once it's gone, it's gone.
That's right.
I said it makes me kind of nervous. And so I started asking her more and more questions, and she got upset, or pretended to be upset, and claimed that I was violating the rules of friendship. And, friendship is based on trust. And didn't I trust her? And I said, well, I'm a pretty trusting person, but I also verify.
There you go.
Trust and verify. Trust and verify. And I said, in any relationship that I have, close friends, family,
Right.
business partners, I always verify. And yes, I've done some research on you.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, I've done a lot of research on crypto scamming. And I'm not accusing you of being a scammer, but let me send you a list of 10 things that scammers do, and you've done every one of them.
How'd she like that?
So I said, how can I trust you if we can't discuss this? Because I have growing distrust, because, it looks like I'm the pig and you're doing the butchering. And then she got really upset about that. And we had a couple of hot exchanges after that. And I said, well, let's put this investing in cryptocurrency on hold. We can continue our friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I don't know how much I really know of the real you, but I care about you. We've kind of connected and have some friendship here, but I'm not ready to send a bunch of money.
Right.
And I think there were 2 more quick exchanges, and then that's the last I've heard from her. So
that is just a classic example, like what you said of pig butchering, right? She's so, and I don't know if I shared with you in our conversations the infographic we did called Anatomy of a Scam. So we kind of broke a scam down into three different parts. The first one
Oh, I didn't
is
know.
um, the unexpected contact.
Yeah.
She did that,
Classic.
social media, right? And then she
Yep.
takes it over to WhatsApp and has reasons for doing that. And then the second part is creating the compelling reason to act. Well, she created a lot of compelling reasons, but the underlying
Yep.
one is you want to make a lot of money. And
Yep.
that gets people excited. And yes, okay, I've heard about cryptocurrency. So maybe people even know people that have invested and done really well with it, but they're just at the thought of making, a lot of money off of your investment. People are excited, right? And want to learn more about it and want to do it. But and she also gave you other compelling reasons as to why you guys should be friends, right? You said
Yep.
she, saw your interest on social media. So she started having those same interests so she could talk to you. So then you're more apt to want to be friends with her because you have common ground,
Exactly.
right? And so you felt safer because, okay, she understands and she likes the same things and, more apt to believe what she's saying, and then the third part is the requesting payment. And she came right down to that and said, $100,000 and wasn't really interested in $100, but anybody that, is a true investment person, if somebody wants to just invest $100 into something and you're able to do that, why would they not let you do that? Right. Because you want to try
Yeah.
it out.
But
So,
I do have some friends who are high end investment people. I did talk to one of them one time
mhm.
about uh, maybe having him help me out. And he said, he apologized. He said, I actually don't talk to anybody who doesn't have at least 1 million liquid cash,
Oh, wow.
which is true.
Okay.
Of course, I'm nowhere near that. So, but I asked my investment friends what
Mhm.
they thought of cryptocurrency. And to a person, they all just shook their heads and said, don't do it.
Yeah,
And some people have made a lot of money,
they
but
have.
they said, anything that doesn't have any intrinsic value that just a whole bunch of people have agreed on has a certain value can be gone in a flash. So they
Right.
said, don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah, you might. But then of course what happens apparently is that money doesn't actually go into a real cryptocurrency account. So what you invest isn't really there.
Right.
It belongs it belongs entirely to the scammer.
Exactly. They have a fake account and they make it look like, well, I don't know about, I don't, I'm trying to think if, uh, I've heard a lot of times they'll have people go and put money into a cryptocurrency ATM machine. And my understanding is you have to have a crypto account to show where the money should go. But if the scammers had a crypto account, as soon as the money hit, they're not it's not an investment. They're taking it out. Or
Yeah.
or else they've figured out a way to circumvent the whole cryptocurrency account process, which I'm not sure if they've done that. If not, it's probably on their radar.
Well, they have some way to send you a lot of bogus things that show that your investment's making money and
Right. They're
it's
creating fake
sneaky.
statements. Right. They're
Yeah.
creating fake statements like they create fake websites.
Yeah.
So when they're sending you those phishing emails or phishing text messages wanting more information, like Amazon happens all the time. They have Amazon's logo, they have the color scheme, they make it look like it's
Yeah.
coming from Amazon, and you click on the link and you're going to think you're on an Amazon website, but you're not. You're on the scammers website,
Yeah.
which they've made look like Amazon. So, um, yeah, they're really good at what they do. Very good at what they do. And
Well, and this gal asked if she can do a video chat.
mhm,
And so we set up a time, and sure enough, we started the video chat, but it was very brief. It was weirdly brief,
Okay.
and it's kind of like, okay, now we video chatted. Now it's time to get off. And so we got
Yeah.
off, and I thought, what was that about? And
Right.
then later I thought, that's just trying to establish my trust
Right.
that this is actually that the face that was on the Facebook account and the face on the driver license is actually a real person, because I know sometimes they're not.
Right.
You might have some old guy and he's pretending to be an attractive young Asian woman, So
Right.
I think that was to get my trust.
Right. In the romance scam, up until what, couple years ago, they would never go on camera because the profile that they're using in the picture is not them. They're just
Yeah.
hijacking it from someone else on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
But now with all this artificial intelligence out there, they can take a couple second voice recording of someone, of you or me, and they can make that voice recording say whatever they want.
Yeah.
And same thing with, I think it's called deep fakes. They can now make what you're seeing on the screen look like the picture that you saw. So now you're like, oh, okay, well, this really is who it is. And my
Yeah.
understanding is it's extremely hard to tell if it's real or if it's artificial intelligence.
Yeah. Well, years ago, I used to play around as a joke with Facebook, and I created friendships and recreated people and did all kinds of stuff. And then I deleted them, but it was just kind of having fun with my friends.
Yeah.
And but it took more work then, and it wasn't as automated. But you can still do it.
Right. And it's only gotten better.
Yeah.
The people that know how to do this, it's only gotten better and easier for them to be able to do it. And with all the AI out there today, it just makes it so much easier for the scammers and so much harder for the people to realize that this is a scam. And so one of the things you said in that was, when she was asking you, well, why don't you trust me? And you said, well, I do trust you, but I always verify. And that phrase came out back in the early 80s with Ronald Reagan. He would say trust but
Yes.
verify. And we use that in our program, and we tell them you have to switch it around. You have to verify before you can trust the person or whoever it is you're engaging with, that it is a legitimate reason, and they, before you give out money or any personal information. So like on an Amazon one, we tell people your way to verify is if you do have an Amazon account, log on to it like you normally would and check things out. Or if you're still worried, call the customer service phone number and check things out. Somebody tries to impersonate the bank. Well, you have the verified number for the bank, call the bank or go down to your bank and check things out before. But it's
Yeah.
hard, because one of the other, I mean, there's lots of tips and tools out there, but the three most important ones is the verify before trusting. But then we also say, be aware of your emotions. And it's
Yeah.
a lot easier said than done, right? So you
Yep.
were in an emotional state because you were excited about wanting to make money, and stuff like that. But you had, like you said, bells going off in the back of your head, and you listened to that. And I think so many people either get so deep into that emotional state, whatever emotion it is, that they're not hearing the bells, or they're not sensing what's in their gut telling them, hey, slow down. Or maybe they hear the bells or sense what's in their gut, but they keep going with the emotion and ignoring, what's there.
Yeah.
But that's the second thing, is to make sure you always have a trusted person that you can talk to. So you have friends that were investors, and so you're like, hey, I'm going to reach out to them. I don't know anything about this, cryptocurrency, and so I want to talk to them. And I'll tell you, we've talked to different people about, cryptocurrency and investing and stuff. And I think it's, you either get people that really like it, or you get people that are like, no, stay away from it. I don't know that you
Yeah.
find too many that are in the middle that's like, yeah, I invest a little in it, but I get a little back on it. You either have the ones that are doing really well, or you've got ones that maybe have lost a lot of money, or that are just like, I don't believe it. I don't want to get involved in it, and I'm not willing to take a risk like that. So, but for scammers, they
Yeah.
love it because there's anonymity there with it. But I have seen some things, some articles, and listened to some people that know a lot about cryptocurrency and the scams, and they're finding that it's not as anonymous as everybody thinks. That there are ways to track that money and to track it down to, who was the person that got it, or the location.
Yeah. And the more I became concerned, listened to those bells in my head
Mm-hmm.
and got concerned, the more I started keeping a paper trail of the whole thing.
And that's a great
And
idea.
I archived the entire Facebook conversation, and I archived the entire WhatsApp conversation.
Very good.
And when I'd collected everything all up, one of the things I ran across is the FBI likes to know about these.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went on the FBI's site and I filed a formal complaint.
Oh, the
And
IC3 report.
yeah,
Yep.
and I had a lot of data to put in there, but I've not heard back from them. But I suspect that since I stopped short of putting any money in, it may not be the same level of technically of a crime. And
Right.
so,
But it's still good to report it like you did, because
yeah,
you're not the only person this lady is talking to and trying to get people to invest, right? And so
yeah,
the more information that law enforcement has, especially about the same group or the same person, it really adds to their case, and being able to find the people, and being able to really say, that, okay, there are victims that have lost money on this. And okay, now we've got this other evidence that we can use. So,
yeah. One of the things I ran across, I mean, at first, when I really realized that this was scamming,
mm-hmm.
I felt quite a bit of anger at this person.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
then as I did some more reading and researching, I'm going to say she because I think the image I saw probably is the person I was talking to.
Okay.
Not necessarily, but may have been human trafficked, maybe in a warehouse someplace
Exactly.
where there are hundreds of other people, and maybe they get beaten if
Yeah.
they don't succeed enough, and
Yep.
so that young woman may have been as much of a victim as the
There, and
people that she
that's
helped.
very well true, and that's what, when I talk to people about it and they talk about being really angry, at the person. I mean, that's just, I was very angry at the person that was scamming my loved one in a romance scam, years back. And, but you're right. There are people that it's called forced labor,
Yeah.
that, whether it's human trafficking, kidnapping, whatever it is, they're forcing them to do this. They don't want to do it, but they're being forced. However, they're being forced to do it. So yeah, it's just, have you seen the movie The Beekeeper?
No.
That's a good one to watch. It's about scamming of the older adults. So it's, and I don't
Hmm.
want to talk too much about it because I don't want to give it away, but I watched it a couple weeks ago, and
Well, I'll get
very
that and
well
watch it.
done. Yeah, very well done. Very well done. So,
Well, we're pretty easy to target. I mean,
it's unfortunate, but uh, I have to say, I agree with you. If you look back to how we grew up. So, right, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have all this technology out there. And, I tell people, like, when I'm doing presentations, I'm like, our phones had cords on them, and we could only walk as far as the cord would allow us to move, right? And
yeah,
and we didn't have all these computers and all of this other stuff that's out there. And we were very trusting and philanthropic. And when I say philanthropic, it's not just money, it's time, talent, and treasure, right?
Absolutely.
And you just trusted people. And so you take those, and I call them attributes, good natured, attributes, and you bring them into today's world with all this technology that people are using against you and people that, are only looking to steal your money. That's like a perfect storm.
Yeah.
So it's that, that's,
We're ready-made pigs.
I mean, so that's why we're out there doing what we're doing, because we're like, the older adults can protect themselves. They just need to be given the education and the awareness about what's going on out there. And then some resources and tips and tools so they can determine what they want to put in place to help protect themselves. But then having that knowledge, when they get that unexpected contact, we're hoping that they're going to go, okay, scam. I need to think about this. Is this a scam? Right. Um, so, we'll, the IC3 report for the 60 plus population just came out for last year. I need to look at it. I'm kind of afraid because I think the dollars lost have gone up. So,
Is it in the billions, I think, now?
for the 60 plus for all of the United States in 2022, it was 3.1 billion. And that's what was
And
just
that's what's known.
exactly. And they estimate only about 15 to 17% report. So,
Oh, my.
yeah. And if you take all the age populations, it was like 10.3 billion. So it's just,
Wow.
and so that right there is why the scammers are not going to stop, right?
Right.
Whether they're the ones talking to you or they're the ones that are forcing someone else to engage with you and talk to you. And that's why they're getting very good at what they're doing. And so this whole pig butchering scam, it's kind of a romance scam, but they're not actually claiming to be in love with you. They're
Right.
befriending you, right? And
Yeah.
then the investment scam. So kind of bring in aspects of both of those in. And then they've made this whole new scam called pig butchering, which is really a hot topic. It's been a hot topic over the last few years. Lots of people have fallen victim to this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was surprised kind of how far, I mean, I think of myself as being a pretty aware,
mhm,
astute,
right.
guarded kind of person, but it surprises me how far down the road it went for the warning bells in my own head to say, wait a minute,
Right.
I smell a rat here somewhere.
Right. And a lot of the scams, they don't get that far down the road before they're asking for money. They're asking for money up front, right? So with this one in the romance scam, they have that whole befriending and gaining your absolute trust and sort of like a grooming process before they then
Yeah.
start asking for money. So there's more time there, but like the grandparent scam, the impersonation scams, those things, I mean, boom, the government scams, they're asking for money right away. And so you
Yeah.
don't have a lot of time to think about what's going on, other than hanging up and really sitting down and thinking about it and talking to somebody you trust to be able, because you might still be in that emotional state and your trusted person is in a rational state and they can help you walk through it and bring you out of that emotional state into a rational state. And then you're going to be like, oh, wow, this is a scam. I see it now. Wow. That was a lot of information that Steve gave us. I'm so happy he joined us today to talk about this pig butchering scam and his experience with it. And it ended up being a longer podcast than normal, but hey, that's okay. We got to hear from about someone's real life experience with this. And that's just great when we can learn from what other people have experienced. So let's just sum it up. That pig butchering scam is out there, and they've got the unexpected contact, And the scammer takes a little bit of time for the grooming, not like the romance scam where they pretend to be in love with you and they're going to marry you, but they're building a friendship. They're finding things in common and to make you want to believe them more. And then they'll start talking about those investments and they're making all this money. And heck, you're excited, right? A lot of people like to make money. So there's that reason, the compelling reason to act. And then, the requesting payment is this happened to be cryptocurrency investment. And so right off the bat, they wanted $100,000 as an investment. And, and then we saw Steve told us about the different things that the bells ringing in the back of his head that he paid attention to. And he started doing some investigating and some research and started verifying a lot of things. And he made the comment, he trusts people, but he verifies. And that's what we talk about, except we need to flip it around. You want to verify before you trust what is going on and what is being asked of you. So, thank you again, Steve, for joining us today. And in closing, you're going to want to hit the subscribe button because you're not going to want to miss an episode of Let's Talk About Scams. You can find more resources on our website at roseadvocacy.org. Sign up for our newsletter, find our social media platforms, and you can also find a bunch of resources on there about a variety of different scams and different tips and tools to help you. And don't forget, you're going to want to share this information with your friends and family so they can be aware of this pig butchering scam and how it works and different things to look out for. Thank you.